gentlemen, we have stepped up once again. These promotions must be something serious. This is the wait, hold on. That's not even how we do this. I'm your man K Marvel.
What's going on, y'all? You know it's QS.
Turn his mic volume up.
His mic is up.
I know. Just pointing out for the folks at home.
Hear me?
Might not have been able to hear that. But,
Can you hear me? You gotta turn me up all the way, as you already know. QS coming to your radio station.
What's going on, everybody? This is the Big Stretch.
And we are the four. You said yours already.
Damn.
You said yours.
Damn.
You see this? We get in the podcast. We get in the studio.
Okay,
and everybody just acts a fool.
All right.
And we are the four corners of commentary.
Hey, can you see us? Always.
Man. So, today's episode, we're going to talk about grim moments in wrestling. Generally, it's just that. Now, just to make sure you understand, we're not necessarily talking about things on, for instance, the dark side of wrestling or the dark side of the ring stuff. No, we're not really doing that dark of stuff, but just moments that was exactly what it sounds like. Just grim moments in wrestling history. So, QS, why don't you start us off?
Well, I mean, okay, for real.
Into the mic.
Yeah, there's no hiding now.
I mean,
there's no hiding.
I gotta get, just see if y'all hear me well, hear me clear. But when we talk about grim moments, there's always, a couple of dark things that has happened in the wrestling business. So, just dark storylines that you've seen that makes you, let's say, a little uncomfortable, or just makes you a little, feel a little weird. And I would say it only goes without question to start it off, being is that, it is November. We are getting ready for Survivor Series. And it is actually going to now be the 30th anniversary that this individual has debuted.
Facts.
From Survivor Series. So I think the perfect grim moment would have to be when, with the one and only, with the legendary The Undertaker, when he just started getting everything ready for the Ministry of Darkness. And I think one particular, grim event would have to be when, for weeks on end, The Undertaker was always, giving off these grim promos, him doing the offerings, him with the cloak, this is when he was now getting into the whole ministry getup, where it's like now the Ministry of Darkness is starting to become a cult. And, he basically was just taunting and harassing his boss, Vince McMahon, for weeks on end. That this greater power that he was looking up to, it was coming for you. He's coming. Vince didn't know what the hell was going on. And then, it's like weeks on end. I think there was even also a match on Monday Night Raw that The Undertaker had with Kane, because Vince set it up to have Kane and Undertaker go against each other in an Inferno match. And then while this has happened, Vince was watching, and then he got a call, basically got a notification that, something was wrong. And you saw it on Vince's face, something's wrong. It's his face just went pale. He didn't understand what was going on. He didn't know. And everybody's just looking yeah, you see Kane and Undertaker beating the hell out of each other in the ring, but it was just what's going on? What's going on with Mr. McMahon? What's going on with Vince? And then, of course, in the end, in typical fashion, The Undertaker defeated Kane again in an Inferno match, which just, in that sense, at the time, you think about it now, you're the Inferno match is supposed to be a match that's dedicated to Kane. It's supposed to be his match. This is, this is the Big Red Machine, the Big Red Monster, the man who came from fire. And you just and once again you lost. You lost this Inferno match again. And then then you saw Vince holding a teddy bear. And Vince holding the teddy bear, so it has to do with his family. And then, specifically The Undertaker looked at Vince and took the teddy bear, looked at him, and then set the teddy bear right on fire, and then left it right there in front of Vince. Vince fell on his knees, literally bawling.
Classic Vince.
Bawling, no, no, the whole time, screaming no, and The Undertaker just walked off. It's just, and that's when you reveal next, it's oh, it just has to do with his daughter. And even then, it's just like on in, you know, like Vince was being so careful. He had to make sure, like, yo, his daughter was always protected. Like, no, they can't touch her. Like, don't touch her, don't take her. Still, the Undertaker still ended up abducting Stephanie. Stephanie ended up getting abducted. And then now you really see it as like, okay, this is serious. Like, this man, like, really just went and kidnapped the boss's daughter. And then he's ultimately trying to prepare. You know how Undertaker was doing before when he was trying to bring everybody into the ministry. You know, he would always do the little offering, you know, put the symbol on their head. Then he put the symbol on their head, you know, then tie them to his symbol as a cross, and then he would hang them and hang them to the air. Like, this is, like I said, back in that time when Undertaker was with the Ministry of Darkness, he was really going full on cult. Like, it was either whether it would be feeding them blood or putting blood on their head, or he would literally be crucifying people. He would crucify. It would, like, you literally saw that Stephanie was going to get crucified next. Like, but it wasn't even. This crucifixion was not even like what he did to, like, you know, try to do to Ken Shamrock's sister, or what he was trying to do to Austin. This crucifixion was going to be a crucifixion / wedding, because it was going to be like the unholy matrimony. And that's when it got to the point where Vince had no other choice but to, like, look to Stone Cold to, like, help him, like, save my daughter, like, save my baby girl. Like, you're looking at your worst nemesis, the man that you hate more than anybody in this business. You hate Austin because he's giving you hell for years, and you have to look to him to be the one to try to just save your family. And it even came so crazy as, like, that even though when it was just about to happen, when the Undertaker was about to have this unholy matrimony and marry Stephanie, while she was tied to his cross, that's when Austin had came out, you know, saved the day, everything, saved Stephanie from this unholy matrimony, unholy kidnapping. And then come weeks later, then you come to find out about the higher power. The higher power is finally going to reveal himself. And then it comes full circle. The higher power finally shows himself, and it's fucking Vince.
It was me, Austin.
It was me all along.
It was me all along.
The fact that he did that, this was such a grim moment, but at the same time, it so good. I know, like, as kids watching it, you loved it. You was confused, but as you see it again as an adult, you would be pissed the fuck off, because you're like, what the fuck is this?
Hold on. Far be it for me to cut you off, but I remember, like, even as a kid back then, like, the rumor mill was going crazy. Yep. Like, everybody thought it was like, oh, it might be Jake Roberts or the $1 Million Man, or somebody from, like, Austin's past or the Undertaker's past or something. And like you just said, like, people were legitimately pissed off, but, like, some of us were pissed off for all the wrong reasons. You see, like, Vince McMahon, like, it's like, like, what sense does this make?
Vince as the higher power. It's like, oh, but then it's like you hit yourself like, of fucking course he's the higher power. He's the fucking boss. Why wouldn't he be? Why wouldn't he be the one?
Why wouldn't he be Vince McMahon?
Like, why wouldn't it be it? And it was just so funny because it came full circle. It's like, okay, the Ministry of Darkness. That's when the Ministry of Darkness then formed the corporate ministry.
Yep.
And, you know, I mean,
next to the NWO, probably one of, like, the biggest stables, as in, like, amount of people in history.
I mean, because really,
3 months.
Because I mean, for really, it was just 3 months. Because
it feel like it.
Because it was very long.
Because it wasn't. It literally, because the Ministry of Darkness was already like a cult-like following by itself. But then adding the corporation into it, it's just an occult. It was like a cult-like conglomerate, and it just made you realize that, you know, business and the supernatural clearly don't mix. That
also featured Triple H in leather pants. Let's not forget that.
Yeah, and that's not something we want to keep talking about. Thank you. But it just, at that point,
they had a badass theme song, though.
The Ministry definitely had a
bad theme song,
but it's not even just. I would say not even just that particular moment of the Ministry, because if you go into Ministry Undertaker's whole entire work,
there's a lot.
Ministry Undertaker had too many grim moments. Like, this is the same man that hung somebody at at WrestleMania. He literally hung the big boss man after he beat him in the Hell in a Cell, and then hung him right after the show.
All the booking for that has.
Was that a Hell in a Cell match?
It was a Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania 15, and mind you, he hangs Boss Man, right? Boss Man sells this thing. The next night, Boss Man shows up on TV, perfectly fine. Like you've seen this human being get hung in front of a live national audience.
The third Hell in a Cell match?
I wouldn't say it's the third.
Maybe. Michaels was the first.
Mankind was the second.
So that had to be the third one.
No, Mankind was the third, actually. There was one on Raw before that.
Really?
Yeah. There was one on Raw before that.
Huh.
Yeah, Mankind.
Time for research, folks.
Mankind. I want to say that the Mania 15 one, which is the one nobody ever speaks about, is the worst one. But it's either third or fourth.
It's probably the fourth.
I want to say fourth.
It's probably the fourth. But yeah, it's like, it's that. And, you know, again, this is not still Undertaker. He kidnapped, he tried to kidnap Ken Shamrock's sister, tried to have her crucified, had Ken Shamrock crucified. He crucified Austin. It's just, it was just, at this point, you were literally like, Ministry Undertaker. I mean, the Undertaker itself as a character is scary, but the Ministry Undertaker really was giving kids nightmares because he really was on the screen, like literally like torturing people. And he tortured Midian, That's how Midian actually got into like the Ministry. Like you never saw this happen to the APA. You never saw this happen to the Acolytes, to Bradshaw.
They weren't playing that.
You never saw this happen to them. You never saw
one's doing it.
Of course, you never saw. And of course, you never saw this happen to Paul Bearer because Paul Bearer was already in. We
didn't see that happen to Viscera, right?
No, you never saw it happen to Viscera. But with Midian, like Midian was like the first one that got initiated through crucifixion, and it like he was always with it after that. It's just like wow.
Oh yeah, he was with it until he started streaking.
I mean, well,
sorry, folks, but sad part of history. Maybe that should be my grim moment.
Jesus.
Naked Midian.
Horrible. That was bad. That was a bad look.
A fanny pack on, right?
He even had
fanny pack and a thong.
Let's not even forget, he even had the Brood. Like, this is like the Ministry that had the Brood.
Oh, that's right.
It was the Brood. It was the Acolytes. And Gangrel. Like,
right.
You had Paul Bear. You had Midian. You had Viscera. It was... I mean, granted, you know, there's probably bunch. It's a scary bunch.
Great collection of people, though. Like just to portray that, like that aspect of darkness and what Undertaker at that moment, what he represented. Everybody in that group or everybody in that faction was perfect. They did roles perfect.
Absolutely, fit the role perfect, and they all knew. Who's the one that they answered to? They already knew what it was. They're like, yeah, you know, nobody was playing the ego trips or anything. It's just we all know, yeah, he's the one.
Right.
He's the guy. We follow him.
Right.
It's whatever he says, it goes. So when you saw what was happening to Ken Shamrock, you already knew it was like, oh, it's on his order. Yeah, that's it. You got to follow him. Mm-hmm. You saw what happened to Austin. Even though as many times as Austin was getting crucified or getting beat up by the Ministry, I'm surprised that he just didn't. I'm surprised that Austin didn't just like convert, and that probably would have been one of the biggest like turning points for the Ministry if they got Stone Cold Steve Austin to turn over. That would have been maybe in history. That would have been excellent because that would have been crazy to see like this ass kicking Rattlesnake out here all of a sudden like he's an ass kicking Rattlesnake, but he's out here kicking ass with a crucifix on the side, like ready to stab you and say that would have been dope.
That would definitely been a Pillman move.
But I think, I think like I said, my grim moment is definitely when the Undertaker initially was stalking Stephanie McMahon and succeeded. And almost went into an unholy matrimony with her, and then got her married on live TV.
That was a great moment where he kidnapped her, basically, and she's like in the car. She's like, "Driver, get me out of here!" He like turns around. Where to, Stephanie?
To Stephanie. It was like, oh,
that was you knew it.
That was you knew it. And once you saw he did that, you were like, he won.
Yep.
He's fucking.
That was almost as good as Buckle Up Teddy.
Yeah.
Teddy was in the limo. Teddy was driving away. Driver.
Yep.
Please. He just turns around like,
buckle
up, Teddy.
Yep. That's how you know. That's how you know.
Yeah, mid-2000s. But that's Taker.
Teddy has the shocked Pikachu face.
But let that be known is like when it comes to Undertaker in the car, just get out.
Yeah, no,
just get the hell out. Worst place you want to be in the car with be anywhere with the Undertaker is in a car because he has you. You're not leaving.
You ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
But that's my good thing on it. That's my take on grim moments.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
I'll go second. But
Okay, go ahead.
definitely. No. It leads in. It actually is right after.
Because
It leads from something.
I have one that's grim for all the more humorous reasons. But go ahead.
I wish I didn't do that whole Kane.
Y'all still gonna have to help me out with this because it's been a long time since I've seen.
Let's see what we can do. I think I might.
Oh, stop it, Mr. Encyclopedia.
I want to believe it was either Raw or SmackDown. I'm not too sure.
I mean, it was.
I will preface it. No, but I'm saying it's not only Raw's War era. It's actually somewhere along the line of Raw and SmackDown. I'll preface it with, what the hell is that? And I don't remember if it was JR or Jerry the King Lawler or whomever was on commentary at the time. This individual stands in the middle of the ring and puts his back to the hard camera and decides to.
Yeah, that was
okay.
That was a shock.
That was in Madison Square Garden. I remember that.
That was a shock.
Kane unmasking for the first time.
Yeah, that was a good one.
It was man. Not to say Kane is an ugly person, but it's just the way they had his face unmasked.
You, Troy.
And if I remember correctly, it was one eye was blinded out or whitened, and the other eye was actually like his real eye. I'm trying to remember how exactly it was.
That's how the gimmick was set up when he first debuted. He was supposed to have one eye because of the fire,
Okay.
quote unquote.
So he unmasked, and then the amount of carnage that came after that, which led to him brutally beating a bunch of superstars up.
Wait, first and foremost, he beat up RVD.
Yeah, he beat the
He his own partner.
The
Right?
moment,
He
he
shit out
took
of
the
RVD.
mask off.
Did they lose that match?
Yes,
that was a tag team.
The
match.
setup,
No,
the
it wasn't a tag team
setup
tag.
was-
It was when he went against Triple H for
Right.
the Intercontinental title and he lost.
Heavyweight champion.
Oh, it was with the heavyweight
Yeah,
championship and he
heavyweight
lost
championship.
it.
Because this was before Two-Man Power Trip.
After.
No,
This is
after.
after.
My bad.
This is
Yeah,
after.
after.
Like
My fault.
full blown evolution.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
Evolution.
No, you're right, because they were the ones with the tag titles.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
they were.
fought the two men. Yeah,
And
Right.
Canada was won that match too. It was close.
that was a damn good match.
It was a good match.
That was a good match.
You really wanted Kane to win because it's like,
Right.
because you like, sorry to cut you off.
No, you're
like,
not cutting me off at all. It's
like you want Kane to win because like, in your mind it's like, one, you hated Evolution. It's just like fuck Evolution at that point. But also you wanted Kane to win so bad because like because of the stipulation is like if he loses,
Right.
Kane has to you got to unmask and it's like
That's his identity.
yeah, you don't want Kane to lose his identity. It's like the one things you never wanted to see happen to Kane. You didn't want Kane to lose his mask, and you didn't want the fucking white coats to come in and wrap him up and take him back to the psych ward.
Yeah, Rumble 99.
Those are like the two specific. Those are the two specific things that would happen to Kane that you never wanted to see happen to him. Like you like when you cheered him on, you didn't want him to go to a psych ward, and you didn't want him to lose his mask. So. When this time, when he's like, all right, this is really stipulation, it's on the line, you're really rooting for him. And then when he lost, it's like, oh, shit, it's about to happen. He's really about to unmask himself. Because anytime he did, if he was unmasked before, Kid would run away. He would just run away and just be out, like, he hide his face with his hair, and it would be like nothing. It's like, okay, so, maybe he takes the mask off, he just hide his hair, and that's it. It's like, no, he really has to, like, wear it from now on, unmasked, nothing more.
Yep.
So when that happened and you saw his face, it was just like.
Remember for a while he came out with the towel over his head?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna just say this. I think that's the best run of Kane in his whole career.
His heavyweight title run?
That's what I'm saying. Like,
I think his heavyweight title runs was probably one of the best.
The heavyweight title runs was fun, but when Kane had officially unmasked himself,
that demon. That was the electro shock to the balls Kane.
That wasn't even a demon.
His best
Kane.
run.
That was just.
I think it's his best. Heel.
Yeah, that was him. That heel run was him as a full blown psychopath, and that was just like. That's why I say like that's his best in his career. Like no, bar none. You can't top that.
I'll tell you my only issue with this moment is
but the thing is the unmasking led to the moment that I was going to mention, which was actually the sit down interview.
Good call.
Yeah, the sit down interview was amazing.
That is what I was alluding to.
My only problem with that part
Right.
was that
they made him seem like, I understand. He was supposed to be this disgusting looking character, but you did no makeup, no like you had the black make hi right
technical difficulty
right my thing is that like it was just the black makeup, that was it. Like there wasn't any real like scar or something like that. You know what I mean? Like I feel like there should have been.
I mean, I can forgive that because I get what you're saying.
I mean, I understand. Like I understand.
It should have been a way bigger payoff than what it was.
Right. Well, I mean, granted, there was because of that interview,
right?
And
I think
everything else.
Well,
for sure.
First of all, allow me to preface this by saying I hated when they unmasked him personally.
Right.
But the
moment itself.
Right. The period. I think the concept of just unmasking him, period, I didn't necessarily like. With that said, that's another episode for another time. But I do get what Kyle is saying. Like, it's like, you know, they built this guy up as like this burnt freak for so long, and it's like, here he is with like this black chalk makeup on his face. Like,
but it is what it is.
Right. You know, I guess they can only go but so far with like makeup.
I guess. Like I said, that's just me nitpicking. Right. Like I said,
so wrestler, like he still sweats.
I'm guessing like WWE, they just didn't. I guess they just didn't feel to put like SFX makeup on.
I mean, wasn't this around the time they were trying to push See No Evil as well? So
no, that was later.
That was 2006. That was May 19th, Kate.
Yeah.
Okay, guys.
I'm not saying that.
May 19th. Oh man, Shawn Michaels, amazing. Gotcha. But yeah, I'm sorry, Troy.
But no, it was just to see that on live TV, and this is a man who we know, you know, has been through a lot of stuff. JR, we're talking about, and to see him just to be, you know, beat down and then lit on fire, and you literally didn't know if this was literally happening or was this, you know, like pre-planned. I know obviously we have the mindset that these things are pre-planned, but with how real the situation looked, it was too much for me personally. And then, you know, I think JR was gone for how long? How long did they have him off TV? Because I think they had him in the hospital for a couple of weeks or a couple of shows.
I don't know how long exactly, but I know he sold it.
It was a good he sold the shit out of that. That was a great
show. Coachman was on commentary for quite some time. I do remember that.
So it still brings a chill on my spine just seeing that on live TV. Someone actually getting burnt up outside of a match.
Right.
But to have JR as an older person go through that shit, I don't know what else you could really say about it.
Because the only person that you were seeing get burnt on like TV was Kane. That was it.
Kane was never won an Inferno match, has he?
No, he has.
Yes.
The one against MVP.
Oh, right.
MVP is the only other person I ever saw.
He got shut up on his back. Yeah. Usually the times before the King was over there he was on the arm of the leg, but that was it. Like, other than that, it was MVP on his back, but JR was the only like commentator that actually got like set on fire. And imagine he didn't even do anything wrong. He just asked a question. Yep. And I don't know, maybe the question just like triggered Kane and just
Kane triggered Kane.
Kane triggered Kane, and he just like I guess he just started. He just wild out. It was just gosh, he probably felt like, you know, JR was like looking at him funny. It was just like, no, like we're just
that's exactly what it was.
We're not looking at you funny, Kane. It's like, oh God, there it goes.
Yep.
And he just like went, just beat shit out of him, then just lit his ass on fire. And you're like hearing like the blood curdling screams from JR. You're like, damn.
Scream track.
I was like, wow. I was just like, oh, today. I was just like, damn, that's bad.
Set on fire. It's a very consistent flow of screams.
Right.
Yes. You know, it's just a fucking scream track. Just going.
There was no by gods during that one.
No, nothing else at all.
Not at all. I was just like, damn.
Yeah, dude.
Feels bad.
You want to go next stretch? I literally don't have anything. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
I had one that I was gonna talk about, but Troy bringing up JR's interview with Kane made me want to change my mind because I have another JR interview also.
Interesting.
And it's with somebody completely different. Mine is with Mankind, and he did those in 97.
That's what I was thinking about.
Those are some of the greatest promos for Mankind I've ever seen. and it goes through like his whole, not just like his whole character arc in history. I mean, like the guy's life, basically. He's interviewed by JR, and JR is fielding him questions, and Mankind's getting into character.
Wasn't it real dark? Like it was a real dark setting.
It got dark. It wasn't. It was like a standard like.
Oh, it was. Okay.
Not different, really, from where we are right now.
Right.
In our new state-of-the-art facility, but new state-of-the-art facility. I know I said that the other podcast.
Right.
This is new. They built this on top of that one in a 2-week span. So, right. Only do it. But JR had these interviews with Mankind, and they're like starting like, tell us, like, JR's just fielding questions like, tell us about yourself, like from your childhood. Right. And Mankind recants this story of like being teased and taunted as a kid, and they threw worms at him. So what he did as a kid, kayfabe wise, I guess, I'm not sure, he, instead of like taking the worms like and just running away, he took one of the worms and he ate it. And he's like telling JR, is like, do you think I got many dates after that, after I ate the worm? Like, you know, did they want to kiss somebody with worm on their breath? I'm a damn good kisser. Like, he's like going crazy. Like, but like, it shows you just how good of a character he is, because he goes from like these ranges of being very calm to like very manic, like that, like in a drop of a hat. And I thought it was so great because they start to get into like the wrestling side of it, and he like talks about Dude Love, and that was like his first character, and he shot like this movie and stuff like that. And then he gets like to the Cactus Jack phase of his career, and he talks like about the death matches and some of the punishment that he's gone through and stuff. And like when he gets like to the WWE, like he talks about like the Mankind stuff, and he talks about like how the mandible claw works. And then it just like, it's really dark. Like JR asked him the question, like, and you could see like the transformation in him. Like he asked him like, because he was talking about Mankind, like his mental state. He's like, his Mankind, he's like, oh, I don't believe in going to doctors. I believe on the body's ability to heal itself. And it's like, if I thought I was going, he says a line like, if I was going crazy, I would know it. And JR looks at him and says, like, don't you believe it's like you should take a little bit of accountability and responsibility for some of the things in your life that has happened to you? And the interview just turned on a dime like that. Mankind looks at him, and I'll never forget it. And he looks at him and he says, like, I think it's time for you to stop this journalistic facade of journalistic integrity and stuff like that. And he looks at him and is like, what? Because he says, like, let me tell you something, Jim Ross. And he says, what is it about pain? Because JR always said, like, you know, he's enjoying himself. He loves pain, this, that, and third. And he looks at JR and he says, what is it about pain that I like? Because he starts hitting himself. And he's like, I'm like every other person. You see that? It hurts. And then he like gets into like this thing. It's like, does the fun start when they have to take like a 12-inch needle and inject it in the disc in my spine so I can go out and wrestle again? Or does the fun start when I go home? It got really real and really dark. And he says like this, the fun start when I go home and my daughter wants to play ball and I can't do it with her because I'm in too much pain. He's like, Whoopee, let the fun begin. And like he looks at JR, don't look at me like that smug look. And he like slaps his hat, and then he snaps and puts the mandible claw on him.
Yo, wait, hold on. Didn't we just talk about JR getting habit pain? Like,
JR has been in so many situations. Like, come on, to be fair, he pushes the envelope, and his mouth gets him. But in this particular instance, I'm not saying he deserved to get attacked. I would never say that about another human being.
No,
he kind of provoked him a little bit.
I think Jim Ross is just trying to give like Geraldo Rivera like a run for his money.
I guess because
are we even allowed to talk about him anymore?
Anyway, it's one of those like like. And what's cool about it is, and this is not part of like the interview or anything. Like if you look at that moment closely, Mankind doesn't have on the claw, but you can see him like very carefully reach into his pocket, like out of nowhere. They go back to a wide shot and claws on his hand, so it's like, oh, he's gonna get fucked up. Like we know it. He's gonna get fucked up eventually.
Pretty much, it's coming.
But you don't really like. You get into such his character as such. Like it took me a while, like watching it back recently, to realize that he put the claw back on his hand, because you're into the character like development and the way he's talking and cutting this quote unquote interview with JR. You don't really notice the claw in his hand. And then he puts the claw on him, and like, you know, he does like the horrific squealing noise that he used to do and stuff like that. When he stops, JR's like gagging and stuff, and then he goes back to like this docile, like regular human being or whatever have you. And he's like, he's gonna need some help
He's like calling for help.
Right.
To this guy that he just assaulted. So it makes him look like an absolute nut. And they got him over. And the crazy thing is, he turned babyface.
Yeah. Because people felt bad for him.
Right.
So instantly, and look who does the mandible claw now is such a similar
effect.
Right. With the laughing or the sounds and everything. Like, we all talking about the Fiend.
Bray Wyatt does like
even
you notice. I hate to cut you off. You notice with Bray Wyatt. I'm glad that you brought that up because there's moments in matches he does like this, like he's in the corner.
Yes.
Like
with the gloves.
Right.
He's fighting. He's struggling
to keep this persona in check. And the same thing happened with Mankind, and you just see like that dam burst. And I thought it was absolutely phenomenal. If I can, just like after telling that story, the original moment I was going to go with was WCW Halloween Havoc '98, like the whole show. Oh, because it's just a bad show. Like that's the show where like the infamous Hogan versus Warrior 2.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like Hogan throws the fireball.
WN.
Horrible. That whole storyline is a great moment for all the hilarious reasons.
So okay,
Brutus
so
Beefcake submissive to the Warrior, like just next to him.
Yeah,
the Raptor,
I remember that too.
Just on his knees. Don't move, Beefcake.
My God.
Disciple. Like, you know.
Yeah. Oh God, I forgot about that. So I guess mine is just really quick. It's funny how, I mean, except for pretty much Brandon's pick, each pick has something to do with a commentator. And we touched on this topic before, but we never went into detail. So on was that SmackDown? It was Team Hell No versus the Primetime Players.
That was Raw. I know what you're going with.
That was Raw. And you hear this man talk, and then all of a sudden you don't. And this is when Jerry Lawler had his heart attack live on Raw.
Yeah.
So when we spoke about commentators on episode 10, Stretch brought up Michael Cole. And yes, he is, as much as people hate him, and, we all talk shit about everybody. Like, that's just what it is. But Michael Cole had the wherewithal to keep a straight face and keep the show going. So not Jim Ross. Jerry the King Lawler had a heart attack live on the show. Come to find out, he was hunched over on the table,
snoring.
Yeah, and thank God that the medical staff and team and the hospital and everything was able to bring him back, and he's healthy and he's good. He's still kicking, making all the dad jokes he possibly can,
and wrestling.
And is he still
wrestling? Yeah, he's still
Northeast wrestling.
Oh wow,
still wrestling every now and then.
Oh, that's how much I know. But I think that and mine is short. I just think that moment in itself is like, who would expect that? Something. And we always say, and Jim Ross always say, and people always say, like, wrestling is very real on a lot of levels. People who talk trash about wrestling, like I have the defense, like, do you watch reality shows? Do you watch Marvel movies? Yes. Well, like it's essentially the only thing is that the wrestlers are the stunt people. They are the actors. They are the voiceover work. They do everything. And there's no way to not respect that. So for him as a commentator to do what he does and been doing it for so long, including the wrestling aspect, for him to have that heart attack, I think opened a lot of eyes to a lot of people also, because that was national news. Everybody knew about it. I remember watching that Raw live. Like it was, like I said, that in itself, thank God, whoever the higher power is, thank whoever that is, that he's still alive and able. It was me all along, Jerry. That is horrible. It's all out of love.
How do we get?
It's out of love.
It's great moments.
Right. It's dark. This is a dark episode.
I will say this in all seriousness about that moment. Kudos to everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody. In that moment,
even the wrestlers.
Right.
To continue the match.
To continue the match under those circumstances.
Right.
And kudos to the medical staff that was there. Kudos to Michael Cole for being able to keep basically his composure during a moment like that.
Yeah.
I've never, thank God, and I hope this never happens. I've never had a colleague or anybody have a heart attack directly next to me.
Right.
So for him to keep cool and keep calm in that moment,
right?
And if I'm not
we
mistaken,
all know they're close,
right? And if I'm not mistaken, I think he's the one who signaled for the medical technicians to come over to help.
Yeah.
Jerry.
No, Michael Cole. Michael Cole is Michael Cole.
JR too. Right? I'm assuming all the commentators are close. I guess. I don't know.
No, he was talking. No, he was talking specific moment.
But specific moment.
Because
that was Michael Cole.
Yeah, that was Michael Cole. Around the time JR retired. He retired from WWE at that time.
Right. I think he
still back. He still had that backstage presence.
Right.
Didn't he?
I think he was. I think JR still did, if I'm not mistaken, or he was at one of the two. I'm not.
Or maybe he was on
sure. I would have to look it up because I don't think he was actively like a full-time commentator.
Right.
He was like he might have just been helping and
or doing like WrestleMania, like certain matches,
just certain matches. Still getting paid. Right. Anyway, but I think Michael Cole was the one who called for the medical technicians to come over and help Jerry Lawler.
Right.
So for him to have the wherewithal to do that, kudos to him. Say whatever.
Just still be on the mic and still like call the match.
Say whatever you want to say about Michael Cole. You want to criticize his commentary ability or whatever have you. You will never hear me say anything about his professionalism.
Right.
Type of human being.
Right.
I think he's ace. I think he's top notch in that respect as far as pure professionalism goes.
Right.
That's not easy to do.
It's not.
No, kudos to him.
I freak out.
Yeah,
that's just the truth.
So,
but that's mine.
Honorable mentions.
I got one.
You do. It's been a while.
I got again. Halloween Havoc at this time, 95. Just Hogan versus Giant. The whole storyline arc of Hogan versus Giant. The sumo monster truck match where they're in monster trucks on the top of the arena. At the top of the arena, they're doing the sumo monster truck.
Yes.
Fucking horrible. Like this is just a stupid thing. They're like the first guy that pushes his opponent out of the cones and the monster truck wins, and they get out of there and they're on top of Joe Louis Arena or Cobo Hall, one of the two. It's in Detroit, but they get out top and they're fighting and they're like on the ledge of the roof, and Hogan like accidentally knocks the Giant off of the roof, and they go to a wide shot of the river. Like, so we're supposed to believe that this man who's on top of this arena, is on top of concrete, fell in this river, like he comes back unscathed for their match. Now I'm supposed to believe Hogan can beat this individual. Just fell God knows how many stories off of this roof.
Yeah.
Not to mention it's a convoluted fucking finish. Like the Dungeon Doom interferes. The Yeti, who's supposed to be an abominable snowman, who's actually a fucking mummy, comes down to the ring. The Giant has Hogan in a bear hug. So what does he do? He bear hugs Hogan from the other side, and we see basically Hulk Hogan.
Yes,
like the Oreo cookie from hell between a Giant and a fucking mummy that they're trying to sell as an abominable snowman. And like he's like getting, it is not even like a legit bear hug.
It's a normalized hug.
Basically, like like those things that they used to put on people who don't want to exercise.
Yes.
He's basically doing that behind Hogan.
You gotta just admit it. You gotta admit it. WCW just had a lot of fucking bullshit back in
all these companies, especially during that like there was some WWE stuff we were like, oh yeah, absolutely. For instance, I'm sorry, real quick. For instance, which I'm so mad I thought about it now, the Big Boss Man messing with Paul White's. That's true.
What did Joe Roger? Because this is when this is supposed to be. Because wasn't it? This is when he was trying to sell like Andre the Giant.
No, that was WCW.
Oh, I thought it was trying to sell. They literally like this burst. Yeah, I know the movie you're talking about. That's fucking funny.
But just for the fact, just to state that you're gonna use. I mean, granted, his mom was there, so obviously they were all in on it, and it was, out of respect. So it was probably one of those things where, like, I mean, as we can only assume, but it was probably one of those things where, like, the Big Show. Paul White is the Big Show, if y'all don't know.
Let's go ahead.
If his dad was so behind his son wrestling that if it was real, he would have been okay with it. You know what I mean? Like, because let's be real, I'm not gonna let you degrade my dad's casket like that. Like, out of your mind.
That was.
It was funny, but that is a grim moment. It's like,
the boss man interviewing this man's mother or whoever plays his mother. Basically got the world, like the mother to admit to the world that him and his father wasn't married when like. Right. The tagline was he was a big nasty bastard. Right. Yeah. The hand that said big nasty bastard on it. And like boss man, like making this woman cry on national television, an older woman. And then he looks into the camera and is like, your mama and daddy didn't have you. You were married. You were a bastard. Like, that's the greatest fucking and then he shows up at the funeral in a cop car. Yes. The silence blaring and he's going, boom. It's like he tows the fucking casket.
Right off the fucking jumps on the casket and it rolls off. On the grass, thank God.
The shit's moving. Yo. Oh my God. You guys have to listen. Oh man, I gotta send this in our regular communication chat or whatever. There's a Bruce Pritchard Something to Wrestle With episode where they explain this. Did you guys know that there was another fucking funeral going on? No. Wait. Let there be a lightning bolt that strikes my ass right now if I'm lying.
No, sir. Another fucking funeral.
I saw another funeral or somebody else was checking out a plot of land like a Jason. So they're looking at all this shit like, why the fuck would I want to get buried?
Right. What's happening? Yo, that's crazy.
I'm not gonna lie.
That's crazy.
Well, I will lead into something funny as well. How about Hogan and Bischoff running TNA? I think that's a situation in itself. The best thing about that, and a lot of people hate the route that Jeff Hardy went. I understand people don't like the Immortal belt, which was his own artwork, which I mean, listen, he can draw. I can't. Whatever. But
that's because somebody could draw. Don't make it good.
No. I mean, on a title for anything.
I mean,
but my thing, because let's be real, if it was on canvas and it was in somewhere in an art gallery, somebody would be like, "Oh my God, this represents." So, but the best thing about it to me was Fortune. Yep. Fortune by far. Fortune was the best thing that happened to that whole situation.
Fortune was all right. You liked it. Yeah, Fortune was cool.
Fortune was dope.
Yeah, it was cool.
Fortune was okay.
Yeah.
I imagine again it's got a national spot.
I mean, you know, it's Fortune. It was Fortune, main event Mafia. Their fashions. Their fashions were pretty good.
Their fashions was pretty solid.
Yeah.
Joker Sting came out of the.
I love Joker Sting.
Hogan Bischoff ever.
I love Joker Sting. I think that was amazing.
Now, if we were talking about, I guess, with TNA, like, you know, being ran by Hogan and Bischoff, like, were you alluding to like Jeff Hardy at Victory Road, or were you?
No, just in general.
That's another good one. That's a good moment.
All right, you know what? We'll come back. We can come back to this. We can come back. We'll come back to this topic.
But I guess like I'll finish off my great moments is really I only have two honorable mentions, two quick ones. 2 words for the first one, Katie Bacon.
Yep, absolutely. I wasn't gonna bring it up. That was something I was gonna talk about. I'm not even doing it. Not even doing it. Even more so to the point that Vince did that on SmackDown recently. He spoke about it.
If you really didn't think that Triple H could ever go as low as ever,
25th anniversary. Yep.
Triple H can never go as low as he could. To see Triple H go to a funeral parlor, hop in a casket with the supposed dead ex-lover of Kane, and have sex with a dead woman on live television. If that does not go to show the depravity of what Triple H has as a heel, I was just like, And watching this as a kid, you're just like, what? Huh?
Everybody did.
We were like, what is
adults?
Yeah.
We were just like, what?
All the wrestlers, people behind the scenes who didn't know.
Like, I think if it was present now and we're seeing this as an adult, if Triple H, like, say, if this was like in the product now and it's to happen, you would be looking at like, why is Triple H not dead yet? Why is he getting away with it? Why is he whipping his ass?
We were looking at it like, why is this the product now? Back then, it was like, where did this? Like, how did we get here? Like, how did we get?
And he's like literally having, and you hear like Triple H having sex with this dead body. You're hearing Triple H having sex with this dead body. You're just like,
yeah, that's crazy.
Oh God! And my other one.
Wait. Is it something similar?
Wait. Before you segue to that, Kane has the best line of all time. The next week, where he gets revenge on Triple H, and like throws him in the trunk.
Yes.
It's like, no, I'm gonna screw you. The question is, will you be alive? What the fuck is that?
What happened here?
So either way, this big, sweaty, 6'10", 300-pound man is going to fuck this drunk. The question is, will he be a traditional rapist or will he be a necrophiliac?
But no, I mean the second grim moment, it would just have to deal with his brother. It is in line. I guess this is around the time. I believe this is WrestleMania 29 when this is around the time that around the time when Paul Bear had passed away.
I was there.
Oh man, he had passed away unexpectedly. And he got inducted to the Hall of Fame. Not even just the Ashes, just like CM Punk. This is where CM Punk. He didn't have anything going on. Didn't have anything going on for WrestleMania at that moment. He lost his chance with The Rock. So then, he just said, screw it. He winged it and just tried to go and wanted to go after The Undertaker, put out the challenge. They just kept calling The Undertaker out for weeks on end. And I think it was one time, this time The Undertaker finally came out. It's finally really all right, he's thinking it's the usual. All right, here we go. Somebody want to call me out. I gotta go face him at Mania, whoop their ass and everything. And this is when Paul Heyman was aligned with CM Punk, and you heard that times. You heard the whole Paul Bear the heard that. You heard the in the and you see Heyman literally come out looking just like Paul Bear, and you're like,
I mean, they're not that far away in size.
But still, it's just we're just looking at this man just died. Y'all are really doing this right now? I was like, oh shit, you're so good. And you see Paul Bear's looking at it, just frozen, just looking at Taker, and Taker had to double look and come back up you serious? I was like, oh yeah, you about to. I'm looking at it he's gonna fuck Heyman up. It's about to happen. He's gonna finally whip his ass.
And then Punk hit him with the urn.
Playing with the urn, he dropped him with the urn, beat him up, and then literally went and poured the ashes on the Undertaker. And
remember before that, he was messing around with. He was when he was on the mic, he was messing around with the urn.
It just dropping it, playing with it
crazy.
Yeah, it was on some stupid shit.
But you know what? When they spoke about it, we all know. Mr. Percy Pringle. That was Paul Bearer. He was all about it.
Yeah,
all about it.
He was. He was all about it, but that was just a very grim moment. That was a grim moment in the present WWE product because it was just we're taking it.
They're taking it there. Yep.
I was like, okay. So now it's personal. I was like, yo, and mind you, Punk's hitting Taker over the head with the urn still it's over. Mm-hmm. It's done. The streak is dead. Still going, beating him up. And I'm just Punk may be the one to finally break the streak. It might happen.
Yep.
But it was good because it was even though that was a grim moment, they managed to actually make that feud something in such a short amount of time.
Right. Yeah.
They didn't usually because usually with Taker with his street matches they go on for a good couple of months, but this one was a couple of weeks. It was a story. What it was is okay.
Yep. And then also it kind of did solidify Punk's heel reign as well.
Oh, absolutely.
That was one of the earlier feuds.
And then that actually turned out to be one of the best matches of that WrestleMania 29.
I was there. It was the best.
It was. It was. That match should have been the main event. But that's another conversation. We want to talk about that match.
Because I remember watching
once in a lifetime
live. Yeah. That was
twice in a lifetime.
But that stadium was lit. So, all right. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of The Four Corners. As always, we got to do our socials. So, sir?
Well, you already know ways to follow me. It's QS. You can follow me on Instagram on Forever Thiefin, THIEFIN. You already know.
It'll be posted. You'll see it.
You'll see that. You'll see it posted. You'll see it posted on all the socials. You already know. Follow us on the Council of Commentary. Follow the group page. And just be on the lookout for a lot of events that we have coming up. That's all.
Yep.
You can find me on Instagram at Jador Sapio. You can also find me in the Council of Commentary Facebook group.
I'm not spelling it.
It'll be on the screen. It'll be there. Probably on my hand. It'll probably be right there. Right there on the screen. But
Striking Dragoon
Striker Dragoon on Twitter, Striker Dragoon on Instagram, and Striker Dragoon on Twitch.
And last,
Dragoon Haven. Go ahead.
Oh, word. And last, but certainly not least, because it's Mr. Marvel 87. I'm on Instagram and Twitter. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to another episode. We got a lot of things coming up. As always, we're the Four Corners of Commentary. Thank you, and we're out.